told me it was a Pittsburgh guy. That's why you got it for me.
Yeah, so the guy that
Steel City Red.
so the guy that runs the winery is a Steelers fan, and that's not really
Oh,
that
Steelers
air.
fan. I thought you said it was a Pittsburgh player. Never mind.
No,
Chat, we're here.
no.
Sorry for the cold open here. Welcome to the show. First and foremost, we would all like to apologize for our lack of presence over the last few weeks. Holidays work. It has been an absolute wild ride over the last 3.5 weeks or so. So appreciate everybody's patience. I do not have picks updated. I'm just going to start off with that. I have been working about 12, 13-hour days every day since we got back from the holiday. With this snowstorm that rolled in, I just have not had time, nor have I felt like it because I've been exhausted. So definitely want to apologize for that. I will have them updated most likely tomorrow, as I should be off of work. I might have to go in for a little bit, but I should be off for most of the day, if not all day. But Todd, catch us up, man. How's the holiday? How are you?
It was great. I just want to say thank you to everyone that gave Declan a gift. There were no stickers. That's really thoughtful. That's the best gift that I could have ever gotten.
No stickers?
No stickers. You know, just like I'll assemble anything, right? But then you start putting stickers in the mix.
Yeah, well, because he can kind of put those anywhere.
Right. Yeah. Anywhere. So thank you for everyone that did not get him a gift with stickers on it. Yeah, dude, it's been crazy. We had Christmas, New Year's, crazy snowstorm. Boom, boom, boom. No break in between.
Just kicking the deck, just running around, and then it snowed, and then all hell broke loose. Everybody forgot how to drive. I've had to shovel like 4,000 pounds worth of snow. I am sore in places I've never been sore before.
Yeah, dude, shoveling snow is one of the best workouts there is. It's truly a full body workout.
So I'm saying, man, if I like just stopped drinking, like I would have the most shredded like 8-pack on the planet. Like I can feel every single ab like underneath underneath
the obliques.
Underneath. Yeah, like dude, honestly, like I literally I got in the mirror and like I was like, I flexed my stomach and I saw definition all the way down like my sides and I'm like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, dude. Congratulations.
I've been a big boy most of my life. Like that's not anything I've ever. Even when I was in the best shape of my life, I never saw that. Like this snow is next level.
Yeah, it's an event.
But to kind of bring you guys into what we were talking about, we're having a wine night. This was my Christmas gift from Mr. Gottschall, and it is from the beautiful city of Pennsylvania, and it's made by a Steelers fan. So it's called Steel City Red. It is a sweet red. It is a wine that needs to be served chilled, and I'm going to show you guys how to open a bottle of wine. So most of these have a little sleeve on here. All you have to do is just rip it right off. There's no need to cut it off. Just pull it off.
Dang.
This is a wine key that I used when I bartended. Get a nice little dig in there. Seven twists for Big Ben, of course.
Oh, God.
Pumps. Out. This is who I think is going to win the football game tonight, by the way. Just a little taste. Just swirl it around.
Give it a snifter.
Yep, it's good. And then you're going to just top off the glass.
And then you just fill it all the way to the brim.
There you go. That's a wine presentation for you.
That was beautiful.
Educating people today.
You opened that bottle so fast. That was impressive. I'm impressed.
Oh, dude. Like I would put my skills up against anybody as far as speed opening a bottle of wine.
Just ripping wine bottles.
Dude, I can't tell you how many bottles of like cheap wine I opened at Red Lobster. Like it was just bad.
Yeah, you might be into 4 digits at this point.
Oh, easily.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Not even a question.
Yeah.
But Yeah, I don't understand why people use those electronic wine keys. Like, give me this little flimsy piece of shit, and I will rip that shit open faster than you can say I'll have one.
I have the one where the arms go up. And it's got the bottle opener at the top. Yeah, that one I like that. I'm
has a bottle opener too.
It does.
It's got the little knife on the back.
Ooh.
For like wine that you can't pull that plastic sleeve off of.
Yeah.
It is a multi-purpose tool. It's excellent. I have like 5 of them still, like from my Red Lobster days. It's amazing.
Right. You just pocket them and forget about them.
I probably still have my aprons around here somewhere.
I bet you do. So you and I went to a college basketball game together.
We did. So
just a week ago, a little bit.
Yeah. So go ahead. We're gonna start the story from the top. So got these tickets through work. It was New Year's Eve, and I was off. Todd was getting off early that day, so I called Todd. I was like, "Hey, you want to go to this game?" He's like, "Absolutely." So he meets me after work. We head up there, and this pack of tickets did not come with a parking pass. Lo and behold, that was a nightmare. So we ended up having to park like over a mile away from the stadium and walk. And we had to pay like $30 just to park there. This is a college basketball game in Dayton, Ohio.
Yeah. This is University of Dayton, UD Arena. I can't remember. I just looked up capacity. I think capacity is like almost 15,000.
Yeah, it's not large.
That. So at the arena, there's also a football stadium, right? Mm-hmm. So you have this massive area for parking, well over 15,000 spots to park, easily 30,000 parking spots. It's A, B, and C. We pull into what we think is like, oh, this is far enough away. Let's go to C. They're like, no, this is parking pass only. He's like, all right, well, Bobby was driving. He's like, well, where do I got to go? He's like, you got to go to lot O.
Like, where the fuck's that?
The O stands for other world because you're on the other side of the fucking campus.
Oh,
it's ridiculous.
And it was like a mix of like rain and snow, and it was super windy.
Yes.
And we had a mile-long walk through downtown Dayton.
Well, and also our only other option, our only other option was a shuttle that ran every 15 minutes, 40 minutes before the game started.
Yeah, it's like one of those big like NFL buses, but like the line was literally like a quarter of a mile long.
It's crazy.
Like by the time we got on a bus, we'd already be there walking.
Like, moral of the story: Dayton, Flyer Nation, just do a little better.
Figure out your parking,
dude. If you want to charge somebody $20 to park,
I would have rather paid like $10 for a hot dog than park a mile away.
Right. Yeah. In retrospect, Bobby and I had the conversation of like, we should have just like gone to a bar or parked at a bar or something and then just Ubered there and back. Not from Fairfield to Dayton, literally just from the car to the arena. Because it's about the same. It would have been much cheaper actually. In the grand scheme.
Either that or we were breaking even. So like we wouldn't have had to like tread the snow and the wind and the rain and whatever that and all the people that were trying to walk. Like
right. It's quite the experience. Great basketball game overall, though. I will say,
Dayton team's pretty talented.
Yeah, expectations.
They've got a 7-footer from France. That kid is going to be unfucking believable. He's going to hit the transfer portal next year. I don't even remember his name, but everybody's going to know his name next year. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, he'll be. If you're on social media, he'll be on every top 10, 25 list. This guy. 7 foot, 240 pounds is what they list him at. I'm sure
he moves
probably
like Wemby.
Yeah. Ball handler, can shoot outside. It like not very like overly physical or not physically overpowering, but if he's back to the basket, he's not bad.
Yeah, and I'll say like the free throw shooting in that game was fucking abysmal. But he had the best stroke on the court, and he was the tallest dude.
Here's my little fact for you that that I found after the game because I was just curious. I didn't follow the scoreboard close enough, I guess. LaSalle University is who they played from Philadelphia.
Yep.
They shot just over 50% from the free throw line.
Yeah, it was terrible.
And as a team, they shoot like 60% as a whole. And I kind of went through. I was like, all right, well, let me find some other team. Free throw shooting is not something that is like, I guess it's just not as significant as it used to be because free throw shooting as a whole, the percentage across like college basketball seems kind of low. Like there's guys hit and miss that shoot the ball very well from the free throw line. Like Florida has a dude that shoots like 91% from the free throw line. Kentucky has a guy that shoots in the high 80s, low 90s. Like there are guys out there that could do it, but it just doesn't seem like it is as important as it once was. And I mean, like when you're younger playing basketball and you're doing suicides at the end, there's free throws involved in those suicides.
Suicides and 17s.
Yeah. And I mean,
which one's worse? Which one was worse, suicides or 17s?
I just wasn't a suicides guy.
Yeah.
The stop and go for me just... I didn't like it. Not for me. Part of it is the fact that I was probably one of the people that was like, they're yelling at to make sure you don't have to keep doing them. You know?
I definitely was that guy. I remember trying out sophomore year, and I made the team that year, but I was one of the last people to like every time like you finished suicides, whoever was first got to sit out. And then you would just keep going and going and going.
Yeah.
Like I was not a long distance runner. Like I'm like a sprinter. Like I have quick pops here and there, got a quick first step. But if you're asking me to go up and back, up and back, up and back, I'm going to be terrible.
Yeah.
And I was one of the last people to finish. And like, you can't quit. I'm like, God, I want
to. Boy, can I. Boy, I could.
Oh shit. Yeah, you know what, Dad? Maybe I'll make a TikTok on how to open a bottle of wine and it'll go viral and then we can all just retire. So
yeah, there you go. You're just a weekend wine guy.
Yeah, just weekend wine guy. I mean, I do love drinking wine. So if the shoe fits.
It's true.
All right. Do we want to talk college football before we dive into Wildcard weekend, or do we just want to dive in?
We can talk about it.
All right. Well, Notre Dame absolutely won a fucking barn burner yesterday. Yeah, 17s were easy back in the day, Josh. I remember watching you run them, and I wanted to punch you in the face every time you got done. when I tell you that
athleticism isn't always guaranteed, buddy.
Well, it wasn't the athletic, it was the endurance. It was just the fact that he could push himself beyond his breaking point and then keep going. It was really like I don't have that gear.
Yeah, that's fair.
I wish I had that gear. Like I don't have that gear. I have it for certain tasks, but not for running. I can't do it.
Yeah. I could do pole, like baseball season. I could do poles all day long because that's just self-paced jogging back and forth. It's just me and my adolescent thoughts.
Like shoveling snow. I can shovel snow all day.
Right.
Won't quit. But you're asking me to run back and forth 17 times, multiple times?
Nah, dog, that ain't me.
That's not where I live. But no, it was so funny. He beat everybody so bad the second year that he was playing in high school that like they just told him to go get a break and made everybody else run. I'll never forget that. That was like one of the craziest things I ever watched. He beat everybody.
That's wild. Bad.
Like he finished and everybody still had like three up downs to go. And I was like, he's getting it. So yeah. That boy could run back in the day. We're maybe we'll hit a gym sometime soon and see if he still got it.
I'm sure that jumper's still wet.
Oh God, yeah. I don't imagine it's gone anywhere.
Might be a little the lefty stroke.
Might have to knock a little rust off of it, but I'm sure it's still there.
Yeah.
But so Marcus Freeman leading the old Irish to a college football championship game.
Yeah, youngest to ever do it.
I honestly, like midway through the season, I'm like, this dude shouldn't even be the coach.
Yeah, I think that's the sentiment that was shared by a lot of people, especially after they lost to Northern Illinois the way they did. Right?
Yeah, it wasn't good.
It wasn't good. They played terrible. So here is my thing about Notre Dame as a whole. We have grown up our whole life being forced to watch them on Saturdays, right? They've just always had these Saturday. They've had a contract with NBC for what feels like an entire lifetime. It was with CBS before that. Like we were forced Notre Dame football, and that's why their fan base is so large.
Well, yeah,
right?
I mean, my uncle's a giant Irish fan. Like
you could be in a room of 10 and there's probably one in there.
Oh, for sure.
That would be my guess.
That brand is so large.
Yeah. And if you look at games that they won and how they won them, there's nothing really sexy about the way that they play football.
No,
I think that it's very, very physical, which I think Penn State plays a very similar style. I think that's why the game was as tight as it was. It was iron playing iron. And, I think it shows really the opposite end of that, how talented of a coach Marcus Freeman how he currently is as a coach. It shows his ability to lead, right? And he's an Ohio State tree guy too, right? Like he's a former Ohio State player, athlete. But the talent that Notre Dame has, there's not like Penn State's got Tyler Warren, Drew Aller, Abdul Carter, right? We're talking about guys that are going to get drafted in the first round. Abdul Carter could be a top 5 pick depending on, how things shake out with trades and stuff in this next draft.
Yeah.
Notre Dame doesn't really have that guy, right? They don't have a guy where you're like, yep, there's no Joe Alt on the offensive line for Notre Dame this year. Riley Leonard is a good college quarterback. He's not an NFL quarterback. I can't remember the running back's first name. His last name's Love. He's their best weapon. He's a sophomore, right? Like we'll be talking about him probably after next year of being probably the first running back taken in next year's draft, wherever that kind of falls. But even you look at him defensively, Xavier Watts is their best player, and he's probably a mid to late second round pick as a safety. It just shows how well that team is coached. And they had a lot of guys go down. Most of their offensive line was down and out at certain points throughout the game too. And even when Leonard went down before at the end of the first half, the backup quarterback came in and led him to a field goal drive. Like that shifted the momentum of that game. That backup quarterback came in and went like 7 for 8 or 6 for 7 for 50 yards, put him in field goal range. Notre Dame gets the ball back. They start scoring again.
Wasn't this one of the first like college football games that ended like with a field goal in like the last 30 seconds? Like
there's probably some random stat that you could probably throw.
I saw it, but it was basically like kickers are not clutch in college, and this kid fucking trained it.
No, and Notre Dame's kicker is a freshman, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe like a redshirt sophomore, like young.
Cool moment,
or maybe Penn State's kicker was a freshman. Regardless, like Notre Dame did not kick the ball well this year, and he's ultimately what got him into the championship.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Marcus Freeman is giving himself an opportunity to be on a platform, very likely against a program that he, developed in as a player and as a coach, and it's going to make great headlines. If Ohio State does win, and we're talking about coach to coach, I personally think Marcus Freeman is a better coach over Ryan Day. So I think that'll be interesting to see how that kind of shakes out. But if it's Sarkisian against Marcus Freeman, I think Steve Sarkisian's, a top 5 coach in college football. So it's pretty hard to go toe to toe with him. But
yeah, obviously, talking about Day and Sarkisian, you got the matchup tonight. You've got Ohio State, Texas. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Ohio State's obviously, since they lost that game to Michigan, they have looked incredible.
Yeah,
they've looked like the best team in college football. Like they were supposed to be the entire year. But for some reason, Ryan Day has a mental block against Michigan. But since that point, they have looked phenomenal. So, like, what are your takes on that?
They're throwing the ball. They're throwing the ball to set up the run game, which is not what they did against Michigan. They tried to shove it down their throat against two of the best interior defensive linemen in college football. Doesn't make sense to me. The whole way that they played that game makes no sense to me. But yeah, they're letting Will Howard make decisions. Obviously, having and I said this. I've said this to a couple different people now, and I feel pretty confident in saying this. Jeremiah Smith is the most athletic wide receiver playing football, like in general, college and the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, he can't even declare.
He's unbelievable. No, he has to play college football for 2 more years after this.
So that was I saw something that was like it was just an interesting take on football and how it works. Like, you obviously how the like MLB drafts work. Like you get the rights to that player even when they're in high school. You can draft that person. And somebody had brought that up about football, and I was like, that would really change the dynamic of a lot of shit. You know, if they were able to do that. But do you believe he's one of those, like, if he stepped into the NFL right now, regardless of the team, where would he land as far as your rank?
It's about it as like in the NFL?
Yeah.
Top 5.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
You watch and anybody can come in and say, well, he's playing college football. He's not going up against Jalen Johnson, Jair Alexander, Surtain, insert any of the top cornerbacks in the NFL. You're absolutely right. This dude has put together a season better than the number 1 receiver and the Commanders did all of college. I think how he played this year as a freshman is comparable or almost comparable to how Marvin Harrison Jr. played last year.
God, could you imagine if they had Marvin Harrison Jr. and him?
They do. They have Carnell Tate. Carnell Tate was the number 1 receiver in his class. And they have Emeka Ibuka, who's a first-round pick. Like,
so when is Brian Hartline going to make the jump to the NFL?
I don't know if he does, man. I think that he's in a position right now with Ohio State where he kind of gets to do it. He's one of the best recruiters in the country. He kind of gets to do what he wants with Ohio State. I think Ryan Day gives him the opportunity to kind of run free. He's learning under, I know a lot of people don't like Chip Kelly. I'm not a huge fan of Chip Kelly, but the dude's been in the game for 4 decades. Like, getting the opportunity to learn under him and you know, good or bad, learn from him. Like, he's getting some of the best experience a coach can get. And
I asked you that for a reason, because my dad asked me that question and I had the exact same answer that you had. I'm like, why?
He doesn't need to.
Why would he want to do that when he's literally like, his job is guaranteed for life if he can just continue to do what he's doing.
Yeah, and
he's done it for like a long time.
I don't know. Being a receivers coach in the NFL just doesn't seem exciting to me.
Yeah,
like, he doesn't make the jump from, what is he now? Co-offensive coordinator, wide receivers coach, whatever his position is now with Ohio State, to OC in the NFL. I just don't think that happens for him. I mean, he had an opportunity to be an offensive coordinator last year for the most part with Ryan Day, and a lot of people were like, all right, that's a big step. Just, he doesn't have to do anything for right now. He just gets to be at his alma mater and be the guy that goes into, you know, the 1 through 10 top receivers in the country's house and go, hey, look at my track record. Look at all these guys in the NFL that are getting drafted in the first round. And outside of that, being drafted in the top 15, top 20. I could do that for you. Like, Jeremiah Smith is, you know, and Carnell Tate, those guys, like, that was a no-brainer for them to go to Ohio State.
Absolutely.
Because, you know, Carnell Tate had Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson. And, you know, Jeremiah Smith now has Emeka Ibuka and, you know, now and Carnell Tate, right? Like, he has guys that are.
They had JSN too. Like,
right. Ibuka had Jackson Smith and Jigba and Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave and Marvin Harrison. Like, there's so much talent there that I think that it's kind of especially in college football, it's a situation where you get better because the talent around you is so good too, right? Like, And I think the outlier to all of this is I just think Jeremiah Smith has so much natural talent in the position that it's hard to say like, all right, he's, just because he's played with Carnell Tate, he's getting better. Jeremiah Smith had like 2 bad plays in the first game and has not really made a mistake since then.
Yeah.
Catches balls in tough spots. Good across the sideline, good over the middle, great at making big plays, like just nuts. Look what he did against Oregon last week. That's a 19. He's not even 19 yet. That's an 18-year-old kid doing that against the best program in the country.
Yeah, for sure.
I just think that what he possesses is bar none better than any receiver in college football and a lot of receivers in the NFL.
Yeah, no, he's an unbelievable talent. Tez is hoping that Texas beats the brakes off of Ohio State tonight. We will see if Quinn Ewers can get it done. But another comment coming in from the YouTube side of things. Curious on insight why Freeman is a better coach than Day. I'm a big Day guy, but he frustrates me. So curious as to your point of view.
Yeah, so I guess I'll just kind of go back to my initial point is that I just think that he's a better leader amongst his players, right? And I guess for me, like as a college coach, your impact to and maybe it's changed some with NIL because now money's kind of involved in things, but I think it seems like to me his impact amongst the locker room is more significant than Ryan Day. I think the frustrating part, I'm assuming we're talking about. He's saying Ryan Day frustrates him, or he's saying Marcus Freeman frustrates him.
No, I'm saying Ryan Day frustrates him, but he's just curious as to why you think Freeman is so. Ryan Day frustrates him. Why do you think Day's a better coach?
So I think Marcus Freeman's ceiling is significantly higher than Ryan Day's too. He seems unwavered in tough situations, right? Like I think there's a lot of coaches that get in that game and you're down 10-0 right away and things start to fall apart a little bit, right? And you see him on the sideline talking to his best players and the way that, kind of going back to the game prior when a guy returned the kickoff for a touchdown, that he was one of the first person that celebrated with him on the sideline. Like, I think those are the things that makes Marcus Freeman a better college football coach, right? Is his connection to the athlete rather than being, I'm sure if we're talking, Ryan Day is an offensive mind versus Marcus Freeman being a defensive mind, I think Ryan Day has an edge in terms of like what his skill set is to the knowledge of the game itself. But I think Marcus Freeman makes up for that in his ability to be a leader on the sidelines and set the tone. And I think there's a lot more unification amongst Notre Dame than a lot of college football programs. So that's kind of where that's
yeah. I mean, I can echo that. I mean, you had the ESPN reporter that tried to play the race card with him at the end of the day, and he's like, "Look, I don't care who you are, where you're from. Like, we just need to continue to have great leaders of young men come into this game, and we're going to be in a great spot." Like, it was just such a class answer from a young dude, respectively, and in that world of coaching.
Sure.
It was just great to see. It's like ESPN has just kind of become such a narrative at this point. It's like, I just want real ass people to coach these teams, care about these kids, and put a great product on the field.
Yeah.
And I feel like he exemplifies that in all aspects. So it's hard not to like a guy like Marcus Freeman. It's hard not to like.
Yeah. Great question though. And if you're frustrated by Ryan Day, I think there's some justification there because
absolutely the dude can't beat Michigan.
Well, he wins every single regular season game that doesn't matter too.
Yeah.
And then he
can't beat Michigan. That's the only game that matters every year on the fucking schedule for Ohio State. That's the only game that matters, and he can't win them. He's won one.
Right. Well, and Ohio State didn't. I don't think Ohio State had an easy schedule by any means this year either. Right? They played a decent amount of ranked opponents. Now they played a lot of home games, which whatever it is, what it is. That's 110,000, 12,000 people you can fit into Ohio Stadium, so I understand that part.
But
a
lot of dollars there.
It is incredibly frustrating to watch. I guess I look at Ryan Day and I think kind of the stamp that puts on like my opinion of him is the way that he reacted after the game this year and how things kind of broke loose, and he just kind of stood by, not consoling, not talking to his players. He just stood there and watched kind of a shit show unfurl, right? I'm referring to, Michigan planting the flag and Jack Sawyer and all these guys from Ohio State flipping shit, which they should, right? Like Jack Sawyer, of anyone on that roster, should be the most upset. Columbus guy, number 1 or 2 recruit in the country, basically started for 4 years there. Never beat Michigan. And I think as a Columbus-born high school football player going to your hometown college, that's the only thing that you want.
Yeah,
he didn't get to do that.
You want to beat Michigan.
Yeah, and he didn't do anything to talk to him, right? Like I think you look at that roster, he is the captain of that team, right? Jack Sawyer is. He's your grit, he's your heart, he's your soul. He's not talking to him. Why not? Why are you not with your guy? Like trying to at least console him in some roundabout way. Even if it's just firing him up and saying, "Hey, I'm proud of you for standing up for us." Something. And maybe you gotta
have his back in that moment, because like if there's anybody that's gonna be more like hurt by that,
it's the most fired up guy that's there.
Yeah.
When he was asked his freshman year, what's the number one thing you want to accomplish
beat Michigan
at Ohio State? He said, I want to beat Michigan. And he didn't get to do that. And maybe that's a chip on his shoulder as he gets in the league. And you watch him during this college football playoff, he's playing out of his fucking head. Like that dude's in the backfield almost all the time right now.
He's got a point to prove.
Yeah. And there's going to be someone that in the early second round, late first round, that's going to be inheriting a star. I think Jack Sawyer's ceiling is very, very hot. Now they're not going to draft him. He's not a linebacker. They want outside linebacker rushers. They don't want 6'6", 275 coming off the edge.
So somebody's got to, backfill TJ Watt. He's getting up there, baby.
Yeah. Thank you for coming in and asking that question. Whomever you may be. I appreciate it. That's
here, so we don't know who you are, but great.
There's no name on YouTube either, but it's a great question.
Yeah, I pulled it up on my phone and tried to see who.
Yeah, it's a great question.
Please get a name. Another comment rolling in. I'm assuming from the same person. Day was in shock, in my opinion. Needs to do better in that moment. Agreed. National title gives him a pass, but you got to beat Michigan. Appreciate both your thoughts. No, it's Derek. Okay. Got it. Well, you don't have a fucking account, big dog. Love you. So
that's a great. You are right though. Not beating Michigan the last 2 years. If they win a national championship, we're not even talking about any issues with Ryan Day.
No,
really, we're not.
Yeah, now, I mean that's the only that's the only out that he has. Like if they don't win the whole fucking thing this year, then there's going to be questions on replacing him in the offseason.
Yeah. Well, and I think the interesting thing now too is you look forward to Ohio State, Michigan. It's going to be young quarterbacks kind of taking the helm for both of those schools. I don't foresee Ohio State going out and getting anyone in the transfer portal. They're getting in the second best quarterback in the country. They've already got Julian Sayin, who was the best quarterback in his class. Lincoln Kleinholtz is still there, who's already gotten some playing time, is very serviceable. And Michigan's paid Bryce Underwood, I think, $3 or $4 million a year to come there and play quarterback. And you look at Michigan, that's really all they were missing in close games was being able to throw the ball more than, 75 yards or 66 yards or whatever they threw for against Ohio State. But yeah, that matchup's going to be interesting for the next couple of years.
Yeah.
Because it's not just plug and play for Ohio State. Obviously they had CJ Stroud and all that good stuff, but it's not, quarterback leaves, bring in experience, quarterback leaves. Ted's saying he'll take another L. I'm excited to watch Bryce Underwood play in Michigan, man. I think he kind of would have been wasted in LSU because he would have transferred anyway because he wasn't going to play next year because Nussmeier's coming back. He's going to get an opportunity to get a lot of snaps next year. And you watch footage of that dude. Him and Lagway in Florida are very, very, very similar of quarterbacks. And Lagway had almost immediate success in college football. So it's going to be – Michigan could be nasty. And they've got a nice young running back, too, from actually that went to Moeller that he's a dog. He ran for 100 yards against Alabama, first time he's ever gotten real snaps. So – it's pretty fucking good as a true freshman.
You know, I think the big thing with Ohio State, Michigan, like obviously when you and I were coming up, like the Ohio State Michigan game was kind of just a write off. Like if you were a Michigan fan, it was like good fucking luck. Like
yeah,
you're gonna get the brake speed off of you. But now it's like the last like 5 years, it has been a fantastic game to watch every single year. And that's the one thing that I can credit to is like college footballs get way more competitive. I think the NIL has been fantastic. I do think they need to make some modifications on when college athletes can turn pro. I think Jeremiah Smith is a perfect example of that. He's wasting his time in college.
The NFL, that's, I guess maybe
there's very few people that can make that jump, but he's one of them. And it's a shame that he has to stick around for a couple more years and risk his body.
Yeah, so you're saying it from the injury side.
Yeah.
I got you. So you're saying more so from the injury side than anything.
Yeah,
like,
what
happens if he blows out his ACL? I got you.
Here's the thing. Like, I think the way that it should be done is that all 32 NFL teams should vote on a set number of players. Like, hey, is this guy ready? And then you have them vote, and then they can have the opportunity to enter the draft or stay in college. Like, give them the option. Like, have the league vote on it. Say, hey, we really want this guy. We would love to have him if he's available in the draft. And if that doesn't happen, like if let's say he gets the nod, but then he's like, you know what? I don't think I'm ready. I want to stay another year in college. Give the player the option, but let him know that he has the ability to make that jump if he wants to go.
Sure. I see what you're saying.
I think that'd be a cool caveat to it.
Yeah. I could see more of the one and done existing more than that. Right.
Yeah.
Like how they've gone to college basketball now. Like you're right. A guy like Jeremiah Smith, it's all he's doing right now. Like really for me now, the next step is like he should win the Heisman in the next 2 years at some point in time. Really. Yeah. That's it. You know, like if he comes out next year and has any sort of improvement from this year and Ohio State does what they're doing right now again, he has to be in the conversation.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
But yeah, Ryan bringing up a good point. 34 million NIL for Notre Dame from these last two playoff wins.
Yeah, I mean, Ryan, you're absolutely right. I know you're absolutely fucking rock hard right now with Notre Dame going to the chip. So
big Irish guy.
Oh yeah, yeah. Him and we were the ones that he was the person that I had the conversation with about whether or not they need to keep Freeman. I was like, dude, like, yeah. So like we were talking about him, like, dude, I don't know if he's the guy. And this was like right after that big L. I'm like, I don't see it. Like,
yeah, I think we watched that game together too.
Yeah, we did. And yeah, like I called him like the next day or the day after, and it was just like, look, man, like I don't know, like it's questionable at this point. Yeah. But Josh coming with the comment, college football is good, but pro football is better.
Dude,
I agree with
that. So Bobby and I had this conversation today. What, 5 hours ago?
Not even
4 hours ago. Yeah. We were talking about, so I think I can't agree or disagree with you. A lot of it depends on, number one, geographically where you are, right? Like Columbus, of course, is what it is because of their football program.
I'll share a quick story. So I went down to Nashville last summer. My aunt and uncle have a lake house down there, and him and I went golfing, and it was just two of us. We played with another two guys, and all they talked about was fucking Tennessee football. Like professional football didn't matter. It was literally just like college football all day, eat, sleep, breathe. Like professional football didn't exist on that golf course that day. It was just college football. So like when you say it is just, it's depends on where you are, that statement, it could not be any more true.
Yeah, it is. It's all geographical, man. Like obviously, like, we lived in Columbus. We got to experience firsthand what that culture is.
Yeah.
And I feel really confident to say I've never been around a professional sports fan base that touches the level of passion that Ohio State football fans have for that program.
Oh, it's
right.
Nuts.
And I'm sure
it's like Kentucky basketball fans, dude.
Absolutely. And I was going to say, I'm sure Tez can relate very similarly to being a Michigan fan, right? Or Ryan being a Notre Dame fan. Like if you're, and I can speak to it too, right? Because, Kentucky basketball, that's my number one team that I support. Like that's closest to my heart, right? That's the one that touches me the most. And then I don't have, and then it's the Bengals, and it's probably the Reds, then the Bengals. I'm more of a baseball guy than anything, but, thank you. But it's all about how you grow up, where you're located, what's dad or grandpa or whomever you're with watching on TV, right? I grew up in a household where in the wintertime, every Saturday we watched Kentucky with my grandpa. We watched Kentucky basketball. Or if I was home, we watched UC basketball, right? So college basketball to me superseded the NBA. Now, on the other side of that, I grew up in a household where we watched the Bengals every Sunday. And we yelled at, in our childhood, we yelled at the TV a lot. And we were frustrated all the time because of all the shit that went down. So that's where I am on the side of the fence of, I prefer pro football over college football. I think both of them have their things separately that make them more exciting, or that hit you differently. Right. Like I think the thing about college football that I enjoy more than the NFL is the camaraderie that comes from winning a rivalry game. Right. Like an upset, right? Like Vanderbilt beating Alabama. That's one of the most exciting things that's ever happened in the history of Vanderbilt's athletic program. Absolutely. If not the most exciting. And they have multiple baseball national championships. They've produced dozens of MLB talent at this point. But beating Alabama on Saturday at 4:00 or 3:00, whatever they played, is the most exciting thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, I will say that the rivalries in college are bar none.
It supersedes anything.
Way better than anything like professional sports. It doesn't matter what sport you're talking about. Like college football rivalries are nuts. And they definitely they hold water. They hold water for sure. Ted's saying there's a big reason why you're only allowed to come out your junior year. It's more to cater to the NFL than college. I can't argue with that. It's definitely couple years in college, it definitely separates the men from the children. And Jeremiah Smith will be a number 1 draft pick. Mark my words.
He should be.
He will be a number 1 draft pick.
He'll at least be the number 1 player. Yeah, he'll be the number 1 player in his draft class.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, Dad, you also make a great point. So we went to, I can't remember if this is high school or college, but he took us up to the Horseshoe. And Ohio State was playing Indiana, and obviously at the time Indiana was dog shit. But that environment is nuts. Like even when I went to Rupp, with Brandon, watching college sports, like home team, I'll never forget going down to or going up to OSU and just watching the OHIO all the way around the stadium. Every time, you've got people of all ages standing up and screaming at the top of their lungs. And the same thing down at Rupp. I saw an 80-plus-year-old woman screaming at the top of her lungs for somebody to get back on a fast break.
Yep. It's different, dude.
What the fuck? You go to a pro game, it's just different. A bunch of drunk people who, sometimes are there because they're diehards, and other times they're just there.
Yeah, they're just hanging out. They're hanging out.
Yeah, but like when you go to a college game, people are there and they're like, if my team loses, I'm gonna fight somebody.
Sure, right? Like I could tell you firsthand too, right? Kentucky beat Florida on Saturday. Corey's a big Florida guy. I am who I am with Kentucky, and
yeah,
he and I can be cordial about it. But I've been in the experience of watching Kentucky play for Florida at Rupp, and it's more aggressive than Cleveland playing Pittsburgh or Pittsburgh playing Baltimore. It is, and but it's for a different reason, right? Like Sundays, there's a lot more. Mostly alcohol is the largest factor in professional football that causes a lot of the issues that happen. And I'm not saying that there's a lack of passion for professional football, because you and I are best friends and we'll go toe to toe during a Steelers Bengals game.
Fuck
and then we'll hug when it's over, right?
Absolutely.
So it's not a lack of passion. It's just the
fuck you.
I think it's it's the environment of college sports that changes things, right? Like I've gotten to go to the Horseshoe too. It was unreal. It wasn't even a good game. They were playing like what? Yeah. It was either
Ohio
Western
State
or Central
beat them by
Michigan.
like 50. But like
I watched.
I
think it was Central Michigan.
Crazy.
It's different. The whole experience from 9 a.m. tailgate to a 12 o'clock game to what happens after, it's a whole different world. Yeah. But I think it's, I don't know. It's all a part of how you grow up and how things work. Like your dad's from Central Ohio, right?
Yeah, it's from Newark, so about half hour outside of Columbus, half hour east of Columbus.
Doesn't matter if you're an hour outside of Columbus, the percentage of you being a Buckeyes fan or odds of it are very 10 high. To 1, right? Maybe even 50 to 1 at this point. I don't know, but I don't know. It's a whole different feeling, man. And I've, going to both and being at rivalry games for both professional football and college football. There's nothing better than being at a college football rivalry game and just.
I would love to go to one. I haven't been to like a true rivalry game for.
I think college. Too. I guess maybe not necessarily like I had some family, but like for college sports, usually there's like a generational fan base too, right? Like I grew to love Kentucky basketball because of watching it with my grandfather, right? And I associate my love for them, spending time with him and having him talk to me about, maybe Adolph Rupp wasn't a great guy in the grand scheme of things, but him being our age now, right, and watching Adolph Rupp win multiple national championships and being a leader and that and building that program with Dan Issel, like I'm going to be that way. And 10 years from now with Declan talking about John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins and Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Davis, right? Like that, I think that's the thing that sets apart college sports from professional sports, right? Like, I've talked about it with you before too. Like I'd love for, my children in the future to grow up and to love sports and to love the Bengals and stuff as much as I do. But if one of my children decides to like the Ravens or the Steelers, whatever the circumstances are. Well, I'm just saying like that's a whole different dynamic of how you watch the game or how the game is, right? So I don't know. A lot of it is just family too. Like a lot of Notre Dame fans, that's especially being in Cincinnati, man, with such a large Catholic population. Yeah. Notre Dame is massive in Cincinnati.
Oh, it's huge. Absolutely huge. Josh,
I love this conversation, by the way.
It's great.
This is
great.
Josh
saying he likes pro better because you got to have 2 feet in. Doesn't like college because if you catch a ball and you fall down, you're down. And Josh, I couldn't agree with that more. I think the college game needs to adapt to the NFL rules to get to also dovetail in Tez's comment where it's talking about the player filter, keeping players fresh and allowing them to develop, and keep good quality football at the pro level. There's no better way to prepare for the pro level than to play like the pros play.
I think the game is evolving too, right? There's not really a lot of stop clock anymore like there used to be in college football. I don't think we're really far away, honestly, from them adapting to down on contact. Yeah, that's probably pretty close.
The down on contact, they're just the down because you fell down. That rule's bullshit. and like 2 feet. If like literally what Josh said, if they change those two things, college football would be even more electric than it is.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, Dad, you've taken Josh and I to multiple golf outings, and we've actually met Archie Griffin a few times. Wonderful human being. Just super down to earth, dude. He still looks like he could fucking line up and fucking run one down your throat.
He's got to be in his 70s now, right? Because he won the Heisman with 75.
He's still like he can still
75,
get it.
76. Is that right? Maybe Charlie, you might have to fact check me on that. It's either 74, 75, 75, 76, or 76, 77.
One of the most humble human beings you will ever meet on the planet. This guy won 2 Heismans, the only dude to ever do it. So
yeah. And it's crazy because he didn't translate in the NFL, which is wild because at that point in time he was like the quintessential running back.
Yeah, and I
got like Earl Campbell playing around the same time who dominated when he got to the. I don't know. It's football from that.
It's like Tyler Hansbrough going from college to the NBA, like completely dominant in the college game, and then he gets to the NBA and he's decent.
Adam Morrison.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Tyler Hansbrough, and I don't like saying this, and I'll say it, and then I guess it's out for forever now. He's the best college basketball player ever. I don't know. I don't
really.
I think so. He dominated.
He was very good.
He dominated. I mean, that's a whole different conversation.
That's a whole other track we'll dive down later.
Yeah.
But the fact that
he is, I mean, top 3. If I'm not saying number 1,
I'll give you top 5. I don't think he's number 1.
Go look back at Tyler Hansborough's stats in North Carolina.
Okay.
Dude.
Well, we'll have to have this conversation another day because I'm not statistically or notes prepared for that conversation.
He was pretty special at the collegiate level.
But I guess we'll have to rank everybody. We'll have to have a day where we rank our college basketball players. That'd be fun.
We could do that.
All right, you ready to dive in? We got a half hour until kickoff for this football game, so we might as well get it out of the way.
Let's do it.
So,
Bucks by 12, or sorry, Bucks by 13 tonight. Bucks by 13. That's my guess.
Bucks by 13. Yeah, like I said, I'm drinking the red wine out of the Ohio State rocks glass. That's my pick. So I don't know if it'll be 13 points, but I do believe the Buccos will win this evening. We'll see how it turns out. But
Pistol Pete's best single season performance. I understand he averaged like 45 points a game. I get it. You could also say, Todd, what about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? Todd, what about Oscar Robertson, local Bearcat legend?
Kenyon Martin.
What about Kenyon Martin was he is the example of a program when he broke his leg, or I think he broke his leg.
Yeah, he broke his leg. He broke his leg. They would have won the Natty that year.
Yeah, they were the number 1 overall seed.
Yeah. Kenyon Martin dominated that year. There was nobody that was even touching him.
Yeah.
He was so good. Him and Steve Logan and man,
DeMar Johnson.
That whole like
Kenny
Bearcat
Satterfield.
squad that year.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
God, that's a whole just world of nostalgia that we can roll down at some point.
Absolutely.
But if you missed the top of the podcast, I did not get numbers updated. It has been a crazy couple weeks with the holidays and then this snowstorm that brought in over a foot of snow. I will have everything updated before next week's podcast. So bear with me. Barring anything crazy as far as chat's concerned, Tez, I think you ran away with it. Just looking at everybody's picks, I don't think anybody was able to catch you. As far as us and the panel, that's going to be a little bit tighter. But Tez, you absolutely ran away with it. I'm pretty confident you won. So we'll link up and see what kind of merch you want. So with that being said, let's go ahead and dive in. We got 2 games tomorrow. We've got the Chargers, Texans tipping things off. They will be going at 4:30 tomorrow. And then we got the Steelers-Ravens rounding it out on Saturday at 8 o'clock. So we'll start with Chargers-Texans. Todd, I'll let you lead it off. Who you got?
Yeah, man, I got the Chargers for this one. The Texans were 10-7, similar to what they were last year, but this 10-7 feels a lot different than 10-7 last year for Houston, if that makes any sense.
Oh yeah, like it makes so much. Like the Texans have been they've like it's been so sloppy. And somehow they have figured out a way to sneak into the playoffs. But
and so injuries too, like obviously losing Stephon Diggs, big, Tank Dell, very big. They've brought Deontay Johnson in. That's not a replacement for either of those guys.
No.
But the one thing that the Chargers do really, really well that I think gives them the competitive edge here is that they play outstanding defense. And I think we have to start thinking about again where Justin Herbert ranks in the quarterback list, buddy. We got to start talking about it again.
Yeah. So, like, midway through the season, we were talking about the Chargers. Like, what the hell are they doing? Like, they had not figured it out yet.
No.
And you saw in the back half of the season, especially the last quarter of the season, they figured it out, especially from the defensive side of things.
Yeah, and I think, too, some things kind of fell into place offensively for them as well. You know, Ladd McConkey figured out the NFL about week 12, 13, 11, 12, 13, somewhere in that ballpark. Either at 1,000 yards or pretty close to 1,000 yards this year, if I'm not mistaken, for him.
I can look it up real quick.
Quentin Johnston had a very, very, very much improved sophomore season in the NFL compared to his rookie year. You know, Justin Herbert doesn't really turn the ball over. I think that's a big thing to hang your hat on with a tough defense.
Yeah, Ladd McConkey, he had 82 catches for 1,149.
So 1,100 yards.
7 touchdowns.
So, yeah. So I think if you were to look at the stats of that, a lot of that came in the back third of the season too. He started having some pretty big games.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think Chargers, not necessarily better quarterback play, better coach for the Chargers as well. I think that's a big part of this. Jim Harbaugh's a very, very good coach at any level that he coaches at.
I mean, it sucks to say it. Nobody likes a Harbaugh, but
it is what it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is. But I think the thing that the Chargers do too offensively that makes them unique is that they just give so many different looks. They'll go big in the box, right? They'll go 12-man basically and then throw the ball out of it, which is pretty rare. And then you get on the other side of the ball and they just blitz the shit out of you and you have no idea what you're doing. Jesse Minter very quickly becoming one of the best defensive coordinators in the NFL.
Yeah, you got to find a way to deal with Nick Bosa too.
Right.
I mean, he's one of the best edge rushers in the game.
Yeah. So it's they're tough. Chargers are tough. They're I'm nervous in the AFC for what's kind of cooking up over there.
Yeah.
And they also one of the best tackles in the NFL already. Joe Alt had a fantastic year. He got snubbed off the All-Pro list, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean,
should have been at least second team All-Pro.
Yeah, that dude is going to be a fucking problem for the next decade or so.
Yeah,
at a
absolutely. Minimum. It's Joe Thomas all over again, dude. Except he's on a good team.
Yeah,
I mean, they're the exact same tackle.
Yeah, I mean, Josh coming in the comments saying, "Excuse me, Dobbins has been solid." Dobbins was always solid. It's just Dobbins was healthy.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah. He was healthy for more of the season than he has been in years past and put together some good games.
Yeah. So, I think the Chargers take this one pretty easily. There's just not a lot of cohesion down there in Houston, especially with the injuries that they've had. They had a pretty devastating injury towards the end of the season with Nico Collins, and it was gross. And we all watched, or Tank Dell, sorry. Yeah, he got hurt at the end of last season too, didn't he?
Yeah, he tore his ACL.
Yeah, and then this time he snapped his leg in half. So,
Brutal.
Brutal. All right. Well, everybody's in agreement. Chargers taking it from the Texans on the road, by the way, somehow.
Well, because the Texans won the AFC South. Yeah.
It's bananas. Absolutely bananas. But let's move on to the Saturday night game. Game I'll definitely be watching. Steelers on the road. Baltimore. Yikes.
On Prime. Amazon Prime, by the way. Not a big fan.
Of all the outcomes that could have come from last weekend, this was the least favorable matchup. We could have gone on the road and played Houston if we had just won that football game.
Yep.
And we didn't.
Nope.
And we didn't do it. So it is what it is. I'll lead it off. I cannot stand George Pickens. I don't care how much talent that guy has. He's a problem.
And he cost you the football game last week, by the way, for what it's worth.
100%.
Should have won that game.
Absolutely. Like, that's not a game we should have lost last week.
Yeah, should have beat the Bengals. 100%.
It was a damn shame. And you know, Mike Tomlin's a wonderful coach, but he puts up with too much bullshit when it comes to wide receivers. It's just, for some reason, that's the only position he puts up with bullshit. He gets rid of it at some point, but like, George Pickens is a problem. And whatever team he ends up on, because he will not be a Steeler for his entire career, whatever team he ends up on, he will be a problem, and he will get pushed out of the NFL in the next 3 to 4 years, guarantee it. Mark my words. He's a problem. Like, nobody's going to want to, unless he decides to grow up magically, which I just don't see it happening. Like, he does not possess the maturity to be a professional and understand what's more important. And it's not him. It's the team. And with all the balls that he dropped last week, he wasn't running routes hard. Like, he sold last week, in my opinion.
Sure.
Like, there was so
I'm telling
many
you,
balls.
They should have beat the Bengals. There's no he catches 2 of those balls. One of them's a touchdown. That one he dropped on the one that he dropped on the right side of like going towards the south end zone, Pittsburgh. That's a touchdown.
Yeah,
dropped it.
I honestly, like, I don't believe the Steelers even have a shot. Like, I believe this is going to be like a 20-point margin this week. I really do.
Really?
Yeah. Like,
really?
With the way this offense is playing, unless George Pickens decides he wants to be a team player, like, he's the only thing that stretches the offense and allows us to run the ball. And obviously last week you saw that we couldn't do it because he decided to be a piece of shit. And if that continues, then we're just not going to get there. It's not even going to be close because the Ravens are a complete team, top to bottom. They play defense well. They run the ball well. Lamar Jackson is unguardable to a point. You can only contain him. You can't really, like, stop him. You know what I mean? True. You can sack him a couple times. That's great. But, like, that's not going to, like, dictate what happens for the rest of the game. So, I mean, and they have Derrick Henry, and we have not stopped the run very well. So, like, it's going to be a long fucking day.
Khalil Herbert had a much better game than I anticipated.
Yeah, it's going to be a long fucking day for Pittsburgh. It's going to be it's going to be a one and done. We're out.
So, is that 6 years in a row? If that's the case, 7 years in a row.
Yeah, we haven't won a playoff. We haven't won a playoff game since Big Ben was around.
Yeah.
And I don't see it changing. I don't until we get some more solidified quarterback play and we get some fucking receivers in the door. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Calvin Austin. Like, I love the young talent that they have at that position. Like, it's just as human beings, but, like, as far as, like, playmaking abilities, like bringing in Mike Williams, that's whatever. Like, he'll make one play a game. That's it.
Yeah,
that's all he's good for. And if we're gonna run pass for 60 minutes, then fuck it. Like, why even walk out on the field at all? So I'm not very happy with the way that they've played the last 4 weeks. We basically just gift wrapped the division to Baltimore.
Yeah. Well, we talked about it, man. We talked about the first 9 weeks of their schedule was pretty easy.
Yeah, but, like,
and then the last 8 was a gauntlet. It was easier than the back half.
It was, but like we definitely played some damn good teams in the front half of that schedule.
Like who?
I mean, we opened our season with Atlanta.
Yeah, they finished with a losing record. That was a big miss.
It was a big miss by all of us, but like,
yeah,
we played the Ravens twice, we played the Bengals twice, and I know that most of those matchups happened in the back half of the season, but like, there were so many games this year that we should not have won, and we won. We found a way to win. And for some reason, we lost that. We lost that identity in the back half of the season. Like,
yeah, I'll tell you, man, the way they played,
there were games that we should have won that we lost.
Yeah, the way that they played Kansas City on Christmas, that kind of told me everything that I needed to know. And Tez, you're kind of alluding to my next point. I mean, Russell Wilson got sacked 5 times against the Bengals. It's the second low. I mean, Trey Hendrickson's the sack leader in the league, but they were second to last, third to last in total sacks. Like, they got a ton of pressure on Russell Wilson. And I know that, and their offensive line is pretty banged up. I mean, they've had a lot of injuries.
Yeah, but our biggest weakness over the last, basically the gap between Ben and now has been O-line and receivers. That's been our problem. The defense has always been pretty good. Like, running game, we've had some pretty solid running backs. Quarterbacks, like, just that offensive side of the ball. Like, quarterback's been up in the air. O-line has been abysmal. And receivers just have been non-existent. So I'm going to be rooting hard. I want the Steelers to fucking beat the Ravens. I don't think anybody wants to see the Ravens go any further than they are, but I just don't see it.
Yeah, I agree with you. And Ryan bringing up a point too. There's no Zay Flowers for the Ravens. That's a thing you got to at least consider, right? Like, that's their leading receiver, first 1,000-yard receiver for the Ravens in quite some, first Pro Bowl receiver from the Ravens ever. If I believe I read that correctly, ever in the history of their franchise. That's nuts. I mean, the Pro Bowl doesn't really mean shit anymore other than an accolade now, but I thought that was an interesting stat. I didn't even realize. I guess I didn't think about that. The Ravens haven't really ever had that much talented wide receiver, because they used to just hand the ball off 40 times a game and rely on giving up 6 points or less every week. But yeah, man, I don't think, because this is the AFC North and it's the playoffs, I don't think this game will be as bad as you think it's going to be. I don't think the Steelers will win, but it's going to be close. And I don't know if I've ever seen Lamar Jackson perform to the level that he's performed in the regular season the last 2 years in the playoffs yet. That's my biggest question mark, is what Lamar Jackson do we get tomorrow? Do we get Lamar Jackson the first time they played Pittsburgh? Because that wasn't very good. That wasn't MVP Lamar. Or do we get Lamar for basically every other week except for that and when they played the Raiders? Because that's MVP Lamar. So, I don't know, man. I think it's going to be a little bit closer than you think. And that's just based on, this is an AFC North matchup, dude. And this being in the playoffs, it's going to be rowdy. Pittsburgh's going to be fucking fired up, dude.
Yeah.
They're going to be fired up. And, you know, these guys don't want to fucking lose in the first round. And that's the MO. You sneak in, you lose. That's been the thing for the last 5-6 years.
You know, the only hope that I have is the last time the Steelers won the Super Bowl, they came in as a 6th seed. They beat the 1, 2, and 3 seeds in the AFC to get to the Super Bowl.
I'd love to get Ariel's perspective now that because he was pretty high on him for most of the year. I'd love to see what he thinks now.
That'd be great. Ryan, I didn't see a pick in there. Let me know who you got. Oh, you're taking the Ravens. Got it. There it is. It was at the end of your comment. I didn't read. My fault. All right. Moving on to the Sunday slate. We've got the Denver Broncos taking things on the road to Buffalo, which should be a snow-covered football game. Fun stuff. Bills usually play pretty damn well in the snow.
Usually.
That's where I land. There's not a lot of snow in Denver. I mean, there is a lot of snow in Denver, but not in the football world. You don't see that field covered in snow that often. The Bills have been through these games. They've been in these games, and I just don't see a world in where Josh Allen can be stopped. Although that Denver defense is electric.
It's very, very good. It's the best pass rush in the league. One of the best takeaway defenses in the league. But this is a rookie quarterback making his playoff debut against a guy that's had the best season of his career.
Oh, I know we haven't had this talk, but Josh Allen's my MVP.
Yeah, I agree.
100%.
I'm there. I'm there.
I don't think Lamar had a better season this year than he did last year, and he won the MVP. Like last year, Dak Prescott should have won the MVP regular season. Like if you truly looking at stats and performance, last year Dak Prescott was the MVP. Lamar Jackson won. Cool, good for you. But this year, like, there's been nobody more important to their team than Josh Allen. He has accounted for so many of their they've accounted for 3 points per drive this season. Every single drive, they're averaging 3 points. The next closest person's like 1.4. So you're going to tell me that you have a quarterback that's basically going to guarantee you 3 points every time he touches the ball? Hell yeah. Sign me up.
I am interested to see how Josh Allen reacts in the playoffs too, because he's had some turnover issues in the playoffs in the past. He's had turnover issues in general in this past, and he didn't really have them this year. So I'm excited. I'm excited for this game.
Should be a good one.
I think this is a real test for Josh Allen. This defense is they're gonna push up on him a little bit. They're gonna make him work. But I'm not gonna take a rookie led team in the playoffs over the MVP of the NFL. I just can't do that. It makes no sense. It goes against everything that I believe.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Bo Nix, rookie of the year, 100%. No question.
Yep. Offensive rookie of the year. Josh, you're 150% correct. Unfortunately, it will not happen.
Yeah, I mean, like you can't get the MVP on a team that doesn't make the playoffs. I'm sorry, like it doesn't happen. Although if you put records aside and put statistics as the main priority, it's not even close.
Nope,
it's not close. I don't care who you are. I don't care what game you're watching. If you put the numbers side by side, that dude should have been the MVP. Jamar Chase should have been the offensive player of the year, and Trey Hendrickson should be like the defensive player of the year. They should literally have all three.
Yeah.
Statistically speaking, they should have all three. And they missed the playoffs. And it's a fucking travesty for football.
It's crazy.
Travesty. It's like I don't understand. Like you've got the top quarterback, you got the top receiver, and you got the top defensive edge rusher in the game, and you miss the fucking playoffs. That's unreal in my mind. I just don't understand how that happens. But we don't have to fucking poke a sore wound. But
thank you.
It's unfathomable at this point. But Ted's coming in the comments saying Allen or Lamar should get it. Both deserve it. They were actually talking about giving out co-MVPs.
If they do that award doesn't mean shit.
Yeah, that's not anything that I would ever be on board for. You got to pick one. Co-MVPs is like having co-managers. Just why?
Yeah.
What's the point? Who has more power?
Yeah, don't do it.
Don't
do that.
You want to talk
taints
about
the award if they do that.
Yeah, it literally taints it. It doesn't. Zach Bell. I see what you did there, Pops. David Bell, Zach Taylor. Got it. They had a child. Anyways, we all got the Bills in this one. From what I can see, Tez, I didn't see you make a pick, but I'm assuming you're going to take the Bills. Let me know if that does not sound accurate on your end. So we got 8 minutes, so we got to kind of roll through these next three. We got the Packers on the road versus the Eagles.
Banged up Eagles. Banged up Eagles and Packers, honestly.
Yeah.
But Eagles playing some of the best football. With what? Give me the Eagles. The Packers have had a very good season. Jordan Love's not 100%. He's going to play not 100%. It's going to create turnovers. Eagles will be able to take care of business.
Yeah. I can't say I disagree. Saquon Barkley.
Also should be Offensive Player of the Year. I think you give it to him over Jamar Chase.
Absolutely. The biggest fuck you season in the history of time.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't really see a world in
I think so.
How you sleep in New York? I'm sleeping great.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, pretty nuts, man. What an incredible year from him. He was healthy the entire time. We saw the most ridiculous play and feat of athleticism that we've ever seen any professional athlete do. A backwards hurdle.
Pretty nuts.
Yeah, good for him. Very happy for him. I'm glad he's finally somewhere where he's appreciated and he's getting paid what he deserves. So maybe not what he deserves. He probably deserves more, but for as far as the running back market is concerned, he's at the top of it. So that's all we can hope for.
Yep, that's correct.
On to what I believe could potentially be the best matchup of the weekend. We got the Commanders on the road versus Tampa Bay. This matchup could be absolutely fucking electric.
It's going to be electric. It's going to be a shootout, buddy. It's going to be a shootout.
God, give me fucking Baker Mayfield at home.
110%.
This is going to be what that dude's doing. The fact that they fucking risked it all to get Mike Evans, to tie Jerry Rice. There's so much positive energy down there in Tampa Bay right now. I can't fade it.
6th consecutive playoff appearance for the Buccaneers, by the way.
That's insane.
That's crazy. A lot of those at 8 and 9.
I truly think we have to start having the. I know I've been saying it for a long time. We have to start having the conversation on whether or not Baker Mayfield is an elite quarterback. I've been there.
Most touchdowns thrown by a quarterback over the last 3 years from Baker.
I'm telling you, man. Like, I've been there. I saw it when he was in Cleveland. I told everybody that they were fucking wrong. This dude is incredible, and Cleveland is just a shit organization. And then he goes to L.A. for a game, and then gets a contract with Tampa, and then he's just down there tearing it up.
Yeah, right chance. Good offensive coordinator in Tampa, by the way, too. Liam Cohen's.
But here's the thing. It's the same thing with Darnold. He was with a shit organization, and then he goes to fucking Minnesota, and now he's 14-2. Had a chance to win the entire conference. Didn't do it because Dan Campbell is just crushing it there in Detroit.
Yeah, Darnold had a tough game, unfortunately, in that game, too. Did not play his best.
But... Yeah, he didn't play his best, but, man, he went there and won 14 fucking games.
Yeah. It's not a slouch.
Yeah, that's a fantastic season. I would love to know how many quarterbacks have actually won 14 games in one season. I'm sure it's not a very long list. That's incredibly tough to do in this league.
Yeah, for sure.
It's incredibly tough to do. And Baker Mayfield is electric. He is such a team guy, and I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I would love to see a Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Detroit Lions, NFC matchup in the fucking AFC champion or NFC championship game. That would be fucking awesome. I don't think it's going to happen, but it would be great to watch.
Yeah. Tez, that's Bobby and I had this conversation a few weeks ago, and that's the exact same thing that I said to him.
I'm telling you, man, the only reason Cleveland was competitive when he was there was because of him.
Right. But I'm not disagreeing with you. All I'm saying is if they win a couple playoff games, and he's the factor, which he should be. I'll start getting closer to yes than no. I need to see him win a couple playoff games. I know he did it last year. I know he won a playoff game last year. He played very well against Detroit last year when they played the Lions. I'm almost there. If he goes out and beats the Commanders and then they got to play fucking Philadelphia and they beat the Eagles, we'll start talking about it. I'm serious. I'll have a real conversation with you about it.
I just want to prepare you guys for the conversation that we're going to have. It is going to be the biggest fucking I told you so ever. Like, I'm telling you right now, there's not a bigger Baker Mayfield supporter than this guy right here. Like, he's a dude's dude. He goes out there, he plays hard. He fucking sprints 30 yards to make a block for somebody, and it doesn't even matter. Like, that is, in my mind, that's elite. I know elite is a lot of different things in different people's perspectives, but like, when you have a guy that's willing to lay it all out there every single play, he's willing to risk losing a game that is going to guarantee them the division title just to get somebody not only an incentive, but an incredible record. That's balls.
Jerry Rice.
That takes a lot of balls and a lot of confidence. And
I agree.
That's where I'm at. So,
look, dude, I told you you're close. Sounds like Tez is right there with you.
Hell no, he wasn't sliding last week. All right, well, let's wrap this thing up. It's 7:29. We got a minute. Let's rapid fire. We got the Vikings on the road versus the Rams. Tez,
give me the Rams.
Big one for you. Taking the Rams. Holy shit.
Taking the Rams.
All right.
Taking the Rams.
Man, this is a tough one. The Rams are on a hot streak, though.
I think Minnesota's had a great year. And you're right. Sam Darnold deserves another contract. He deserves to stay in Minnesota on another contract. He's played great. He's done everything tenfold of what they needed him to do. He was a stopgap for J.J. McCarthy. J.J. McCarthy goes down. Sam Darnold steps in, takes him to 14-3. They started at 6-0, something like that. Lost 2, and their last the next time they lost
started
was
8-0.
8-0.
Yeah.
Lost 2, and then didn't lose again until week 18. A great season. Comeback player of the year, probably, unless they want to give it to Burrow if they don't give him the MVP because of the injury. Which, if that's the case,
more than likely, I can definitely see Joe Burrow getting comeback player of the year, 100%.
I think Sam Darnold deserves a contract and deserves to stay in Minnesota. He utilized the weapons that Minnesota has, which we're going to have to start talking about pretty soon. You know, Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson being a top 3 combo of receivers in the NFL.
Absolutely.
It's getting pretty close. Jordan Addison had a great sophomore year as well. On a lot of other rosters, we're talking about him being the wide receiver 1.
Yeah.
It just so happens he's got the second best receiver playing in front of him. Minnesota's had a great year. Second best. Kevin O'Connell's a very good coach as well. That snippet of him talking to Sam Darnold in that and week 17 and just like,
if that doesn't bring a tear to your eye, I don't know what does.
Yeah, it was a beautiful moment, and I'm glad that somebody heard. I'm glad we got to hear it.
Yeah,
because Sam Darnold, similar to how we talked about Baker last year, right? We talked about him in this conversation the same way we're talking about Sam Darnold. Like, these guys were out of the league. These guys were on the Panthers together, blowing dick. Bad, cut, gone. You know, Sam Darnold was brought to the Vikings just for them to suck, so J.J. McCarthy could get ready to play in the NFL, and they're 14-3. And I'll give Corey credit too. Corey said at the beginning of this year when we were doing our over-unders, he said Minnesota top to bottom has one of the best rosters in the NFL, and they're going to shock a lot of people. He was 100% right.
Yeah.
100% right. Because all three of us were like, I don't think so. 100% right. Credit where credit's due. He saw something that we didn't. Brian Flores should be a head coach in the NFL next year. Probably won't. That's where I'll leave it. But great season for the Vikings, exceeding all expectations. Sucks because they probably thought they were going to get another high draft pick and maybe do something else. But you've got a quarterback in Sam Darnold. You've got one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. You've got one of the best tight ends in the NFL. One of the best defenses in the NFL. Keep hammering in the NFC North because it's only going to get harder.
Yeah, I mean, NFC North. I feel like both North divisions in each conference are the best divisions in football.
It's not even close.
Yeah, like it's the AFC North, NFC North. Like it's not even a conversation. The one thing I will say is, Tez, you owe me a pizza because Caleb Williams is trash, and he proved that. So let me know when you want to buy. But I mean, the man had less passing yards than the punter had punting yards. So yeah, I'll
not a good look. Not a good look for Caleb Williams.
Yep, I'll take that whenever you're ready. But in regards to this, Tez, I'm not going to fade you. The only person that's fading is Ryan. He's taking the Vikings. I'm going to slide with the Rams. Ryan, thank you for liking the stream. It's really tough to go against Sean McVay playoff time. And Matt Stafford's been there. He's done it. He's been for a long time. He's number one pick for a reason. Mama, thank you for liking the video. Sean McVay is one of the best coaches in football.
For sure.
And
no argument.
He's got one of the best quarterbacks in football. He's got Matt Stafford. The dude was completely wasted for the first 2/3 of his career in Detroit because nobody built around him. Could you imagine Dan Campbell having Matt Stafford?
Yeah. Well, don't forget Megatron was on those teams too.
Yeah. They had the best, arguably, a top 5 quarterback and the best receiver in the NFL, and they couldn't figure it out.
Yeah. Oh yeah, one of the best receivers of all time was in Detroit. Yeah, it's crazy.
He's the only person I've ever seen triple covered on the line.
Yeah, it's crazy.
He's the only person I've ever seen have 3 people bump and run him.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's insane. But I'm taking the Rams. To mirror Todd's sentiments, Vikings have had a fantastic season. They've played a lot better than anybody ever expected them to.
It's been great,
rip, and it's been a lot of fun to watch. But I think the Rams, as the underdog, pull this one out and move on to the next round. So we'll see how it goes. But chat, without further ado, we will let you guys get to this wonderful football game that's on the television right now between Ohio State and Texas. Thank you for spending some time with us this evening. We will be back next week. Not sure what day. We have all got some pretty busy schedules over the next couple of weeks, so definitely be back half the week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at some point. We'll keep you guys posted and let you know. But thanks for tuning in, and y'all have a wonderful evening.